Ready.
Okay, your mic is on. Excellent. It is the 8th of June, and this is the DPW meeting. I am stepping in for Councilman Foster, who is out of town tonight, so I will be chairing. We do not have an extensive agenda, but I do have one update for him. In attendance is Rob Perry, Superintendent of DPW, and Dewan Stewart, Sawar.
Yep.
And myself, Henry Haddad, and online, I believe we have Ronnie. Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Rob, please take it away.
All right, thank you. The April septic was $54,573. That's what we like to see to help us meet our annual quota. The phase one, most of this month, we've been dealing with the large capital project, the CSO separation project. We're probably about 95% complete with our design plans, which will be going off. They have to be reviewed independently by DEC as well as EFC, which is Environmental Facilities Corporation. That's the bank for DEC. And, so that's going to take a couple of months. But while we submit most of the sewer related stuff, there's a number of like local issues that we're delving into now that DEC doesn't really need to see. One of them is the traffic plan, MPT, Management Protection of Traffic. We're going to need to come up with, meet with our stakeholders to figure out where detours will happen when various blocks are closed during the day. And, what kind of signage and what kind of access to their property that may be necessary when the Columbia Street is basically closed or impassable, because there'll be some times when there won't be a street, there'll just be massive holes. They get filled in at the end of the day. Obviously our sidewalk and roadway restoration plans, we're going through the details. One of the bigger issues that, we're trying to forget is whether or not to do a winter shutdown or not. When Mullen was in town putting the gas main in for National Grid, we had these 2-week look ahead meetings and we allowed them to continue work during the winter. It's not something that we really allow because during the winter, there's no asphalt to do restoration. In this instance, they agreed to use concrete so that way the roads, should we get a blizzard, the roads had something that was plowable. We'd like to keep construction moving at a good pace, but obviously if there's no way that we can rebuild the road and then we get a blizzard, a cold patch, our plows are just gonna rip through, it's just gonna damage our equipment. So we're coming up with conditions and whether or not, but most of the time, because of the scale of this project, at least in the early stage, probably be closed for a couple of months, shut down for a couple of months during the heart of the winter. Locations for private drains and water mains. So there will be some actual city water mains that are in conflict that'll have to get moved. But because it's considered a conflict with this project, we'll be able to move them, as part of the project total. Also we've got a lot of intersection conflicts because the structures that are going to be placed, especially early on, in order for a manhole or structure to receive a 48-inch diameter pipe, it's going to have to be like an 8-foot diameter, 9-foot diameter structure. So you're talking about a manhole that's easily, the width of these tables, the diameter of these tables. Typically they're about 5 feet in diameter, but so we want to make sure that we have, everything in place so that way when we have these intersections opened up that, there's enough room to fit everything, all the existing utilities as well as accommodate the new sewer and storm. As part of the water department, next week we'll be flushing hydrants. We do this a couple times a year. We do it in the middle of the night so that way it's less disturbing to, the normal daily activities. Most people are asleep. So, when there's a high volume of water getting flushed through, it can stir up some of the schmutz. And that's a technical term, we don't like, if it happens during the day and people are cooking and cleaning, it can get into their washing machines and whatever. So that's why we do it at night. In the event that somebody gets discolored water in the morning, they should just open the bathtub spigot or some fixture without a screen, let the cold water only run for a couple of minutes, and it should clear up. Also, we're doing a number of maintenance projects out at Churchtown, it's just this seasonal stuff. And, we are working on a CDBG grant, which is a community development block grant for, a planning activity for the water supply. And the reality is these are the types of grants that we use, to come up with studies and data that are used to actually apply for capital grants, in the future. We do have 140-year-old transmission main that feeds the city. A lot of the infrastructure, that's the reservoir, and while the purpose is to get everything to Hudson, are original to our water system. We've upgraded a lot of, the tank obviously in the plant here in the city. But now we want to make sure that we can, maintain the flows and utility going in, in the long run. DRI, so, sorry. Last year, I think everybody remember when they put the plantings in for the DRI project in the street state, a lot of the trees lost their leaves rather quickly. There was questions whether or not anything had died or whether it was the stress of the summer heat. And so, picture one just shows that, the trees in fact have leaves on them. We'll be doing some supplemental water, but apparently they did survive not only the high heat of last summer, but the extreme freeze of this past winter. So, that's what we're doing now.
Were those the same trees that were along Harry Howard along retirement zone? Were those different? That's a different planting, correct?
That's a different planting. That was a CAC project. And I believe they had like 8 or 10 other trees out of the 50 on Harry Howard that had issues. 11. And I believe they got
I think,
replaced.
yeah, they did. I know some back them under. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a warranty claim on that. But they, the CAC really had to chase them down for it. Also the questions, for those who didn't notice, I guess there's questions as to why, the subcontractor Louisiana is coming back doing the work, and, it was raised as an issue, workmanship issue last summer. So in picture 2, you can see you've got like a 2 or 3 inch gap and mortar between the 2 granite sets on one, and then on the opposite side, they're butting right up next to each other, and they're supposed to be cut evenly spaced, or to some extent spaced. You can see that they're tipped, they're not flush. Obviously water would pool on this, and you're creating trip hazard. This is a close-up. So this one may not be a trip hazard, but there were a number of them that were involved with it. So, you're doing an ADA project and making trip hazards is not a good idea. So that's where they are. That's why they're in town.
Are we on the hook for any of that?
No.
We're paying for all that.
They're not getting it done. What we've done is, they have the pay request from last July when they did the work.
Yeah.
But we withheld $200,000 worth of their payment. So does the city owe them money? Yes, but we owe them for the work from last year. They're not getting paid for anything that they're doing today, or for this project. This is all, warranty claim. And, so you can see, there's a level there, they're making sure that everything now is level, pitched, forward, for drainage and runoff. They're spacing them, more evenly. And, there was a question about, it's different. We do have these differing gaps in between. And, part of the issue is that these granite sets are actually unfinished on all sides. They're not, so that material is uneven on the sides. And so, we have this little, fluctuations between, sometimes a 1/4 inch, sometimes it's an inch or more. The idea is to keep them somewhat even and consistent, so that way, it looks cleaner. Last part of the Figari project, I guess there was something, online about one of the shacks coming down out in the bay. So, like, this came from somebody on Facebook, this picture, not sure who it was, somebody sent it to me. But anyway, That's cabin number 7, which is circled up here, and the demolition plan, this is what we use as part of the documents. When we put this project out to bid, the entire project was about $115,000. And demolishing building 7, which is this one here, was $50,000 by itself. That exceeded what our grant was. And so we spoke to the Department of State. They weren't willing to give us more money. So we would have been out of pocket at the city. And so we said, well, it's gonna come down sooner or later. We just assume remove it from the scope. They were fine with that, and so we pulled that off and then removed that from the scope and then issued the contract for the remaining buildings. So that's why that was still there. It was scheduled to be destroyed or demolished during the project, and now it's demolished during nature. The park stuff. So, the splash pad, which, it's just been subjected to some really brutal conditions, most of them humid, where, kids are literally just beating on this actuator. So the silver thing in picture 6 is actually the push button, and that's within the housing. And, so, they're banging it with rocks and hard stuff. But when they do that, it puts pressure down. And meanwhile, the pressure from the system is trying to go forward, and they're sending a wave backwards, and that creates a hammer. And in this instance, it splits the actuator itself. So this part has been replaced, this brass part here. There's a solenoid that was also damaged. We replaced and upgraded that. And we also lowered the pressure. So the pressure is down to about 37 PSI. So, this spray used to go up a lot higher. There used to be a lot more of a mistiness on it. We're trying to do what we can do to protect the infrastructure, so that way it's there for all the kids to enjoy. So it is working, as of the other day. It was repaired on Wednesday. We actually had a vendor come up from New Jersey, so it was a couple $1,000 fix, and just for the 2 parts, for that bronze brass one, and then for a solenoid, which is in a pit somewhere else. So hopefully it just doesn't get beat up and everybody can use it. DPW, so the New York State budget is approved, so these are our new CHIPS numbers. You'll see the CHIPS balance itself says 755,000. Of that, 370,000 is committed to the new street sweeper, and 150,000 is the cost to reconstruct Harry Howard Avenue. So the balance is really more like 235 once we, submit the reimbursements. Another thing to kind of focus on is that you'll see this $4 million on state touring route. Obviously, a large portion of that is committed to the Ferry Street Bridge as our local share. But, once we finally get that closed out and paid off, then whatever the net is, will be ready for future projects. So hopefully we can get it all tightened up soon.
Yep.
Soon. The bridge has been open for a year. Let's see, also, just, seasonal stuff, replacing a loader blade, to the boat float. So there was vandalism, that was, I told you about last month. They knocked the dolphins off, they broke the part of the mast, they carved their names into it. They didn't do anything when we went to pull the float out of the Dunn warehouse to bring it to the garage to repair that, we noticed that the boat itself was, I would say listing, right? Because it was a leaner, it was going to one side, it was kind of shaky, and we realized that, there was some damage to the frame. Nobody's suggesting that the vandals did that. I'll just remind everybody that this boat was constructed in 1975 for the bicentennial. That's 50 years ago. And when it was constructed, somebody donated an old hay wagon. So it's, this hay wagon it's probably 75 years ago, metal fatigues. I'm pretty sure it'll be resurrected in one shape or another. The challenging part is that the boat was actually built on the frame and to the frame. So I'm sure there'll be something will need to take place. It's just, it's not gonna take place. It won't happen quickly, but it'll be back. Unfortunately, not in our semi-quincentennial. If I said that right.
is Stout coming out this for Flag Day?
No. I don't, that was on a different trail, the Whale.
Yeah, is anyone using it?
I don't think so. That was, the city wasn't using it. Lucy Cunningham and a couple of her friends, they were the ones that were pulling it and using it. And actually, they purchased a trailer
I
for it.
think the last
a couple of years
person
ago.
It was the Tanzan place,
I think that's,
Tisha and Sandy.
yeah, they were part of that group.
Yeah. Maybe I'll reach out to them, see if they want to use it even.
Yeah, it's down there, so.
I had a question into Germantown to see if we could maybe use their hayride float for in lieu of the Half Moon being broken.
Yeah.
Because if we wanted to use if the basketball team wanted to stand and give them the honor as well, but I'm waiting to hear back.
Okay.
If that's okay with them, we're gonna reach out to you and say, if that's all right with you, and if insurance jives from their end, if I can get it here.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get it or something, we can tell it, of course, or I don't know if they wanna tell it or whatever. Yeah, it's not
As a backup, maybe we get it back.
it's not an issue, for us. I know we don't have anything else in stock
Yeah.
because we do have a couple of equipment trailers, but they get used for all the barricades and all the supplies that get put out. And then the only other trailer that's a little bigger that could accommodate people has been, commandeered by the Flag Day Committee because they used to have a tractor trailer bed at the bottom of,
Yeah, for their grandstand.
for their reviewing stand,
Right.
right? And now with the DRI bump outs,
I can't fit there.
they can't fit there. So one of our equipment trailers has actually been hijacked to function as the reviewing stand. So anyway, that's, but yeah, if there's another trailer available. Huh?
Which DRI?
Downtown Revitalization Improvement. That was the $10 million award from Mario Cuomo in 2016, 17-ish. Let's see, basically the blacktop program, this picture here, you see them breaking with some loops. We put them in the depressions and the roller comes by and presses it down. We got started in May on this stuff. Doing the blacktop is the single greatest crew member requirement. There's a lot of projects that 2 guys can do, some 3, some 4, but we really need like 6 or 7 at least, because we have to have some flaggers out there. There's a guy driving the truck, there's a guy in the roller, there's a couple guys breaking the blacktop. So, it's important that we have as much crew. Obviously, I remind everybody that I had 2 positions that were eliminated in the 2026 budget, so it makes it that more difficult to get, the appropriate staff to safely conduct this business. But we have started doing some of the patchworks, seasonal patchwork. Just a couple of CAC coordinated events. 13 is down at the dog park. These little saplings are there. Apparently, they're gonna put some mulch down around it and we'll mow the grassy area around the plantings. But we did, they had some material donated from the homesteads, I believe, and then we went out and collected it and delivered it. And then 14 there was a memorial tree that they wanted to place somewhere in the cemetery, so Gene Shetsky, kind of worked with them to get a little spot next to the pond. And Billy Fish dug the hole for him, and so the memorial tree is planted. The crew will be at safety training this week, so that's 2 days. So that'll shut down, you won't see a whole lot of work done on Tuesday and Wednesday because half the crew will be in Chatham for 1 day, while the other half does the essentials like garbage and whatever. And flip flops the next day. Cemetery, just shows you how high the grass is in 15, and when they get in there and start bushwhacking it for Memorial Day, same thing in the upper page. 16 just kind of gives you an idea of the finished product, everything gets all cleaned up for the holiday. And just the last bit is that fence on Tenbrook, and someone crashed into it again yesterday. So right where we would have rebuilt the intersection's been hit about 5 times in the last couple of years. I don't know what it is, but. So, that's what I have.
Thank you.
Sure.
Last week at safety, we had a list of 4 signs for you, and if I'm not mistaken, they were all done the next day. Maybe there's one left, but thanks, that was quick.
Sure.
The one way and the no right
Yeah, yeah.
turn.
Yeah, Frankie's on. I mean, if we've got them in inventory and it's just mounting to an existing sign, that's pretty straightforward, if it needs hardware and whatever else, then, that's a little different. So,
So we're gonna try to make a couple more additions for that and see how it goes.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, like I said, it's helpful, if if you guys come up with a plan like before, have a discussion with Mashonda and Kaiser and whatever, so that way it gets vetted through, because if it's a traffic control device requires enforcement, then, there's technically supposed to kind of sign off on it
Yeah.
before,
Rather have it come from them
yeah,
in small doses. I'm gonna give you 50.
yeah,
Um,
I appreciate that.
so the only thing I had from Jason was that he wanted to make sure that we all knew that the Hudson Valley Greenway grant that we applied for, the study to do the 2 intersections, we were denied. So we're, gonna try for the next round, which is probably in a few months. And Jason is still in communication with them, and they said, please we'll keep you on the list and we'll try again for the next round. But that one we got passed on.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the nature of the.
Yeah. I did find 2 more parking meter poles.
Yeah, we're just waiting for HPD to make up their mind, because
Right.
sometimes they're in, sometimes they're out, sometimes they're back in again, sometimes you shake it all about. So,
Sure.
so that's just, there's this communication between, Miller and Frankie, and whenever there's a final decision, it doesn't take anything for us to remove them.
Yeah,
So that's where we are right now.
great. I don't have a lot for this meeting because, just standing in for Jason, and he did not have much, going forward other than the Greenway grant and just a few updates that are not time sensitive, so he'll catch up with those next month. Rose, do you have anything online? Yeah.
It's like Bill's got his hand up.
Well,
Big surprise.
Bill used some language in the emails over the last few days that doesn't really sit well with me, so I'm not calling on Bill tonight for those reasons.
No time out. Or Billy.
Lloyd?
I'm just curious, so I know you were on top of the tree of peace thing way before anyone else, I think. So I'm just trying to establish the timeline, because I think when I was there on Friday, May 1st, I kind of felt like something was missing. So do you have any idea when we first became aware? Because I know at the Conservation Action Committee, that was Tuesday, May 5th, they knew of it at that time, but I get the sense that you had already did the aerial and spotted it. Do you remember kind of when and where you were with?
Somebody called me and asked me where it was, or if I knew anything about it, or actually,
Was that May 1st?
I have no idea really. I gotta check the picture from when I went down. Anyway, the question was whether or not DPW had removed it. And of course,
That was, no, but how did the ground get smoothed over?
whoever took,
You think
whoever removed the tree, that was the condition when I went down there and I saw the tree over the hill. So I saw the tree over the hill on May 5th.
So that was the day before the meeting of the CAC, and did Carol tell you? Did you find out from
I don't
Carol?
know, it was one of the CAC members asked me if I knew where the tree was.
Oh, could have been, Coleman.
But I have no idea, I don't pay attention.
Did
There was a
I-
question, they asked me if DPW moved it, I said no.
Have you heard anything from the mayor on,
On what?
the tree, where, because now we're, you know what the tree is?
I have no idea. I'm on a need to know basis, man. They threatened me. When
They what?
They said, oh, yeah, I can't be involved in those high discussions about the tree of peace. That's a state secret. I'm out.
God, we gotta bury the hatchet,
I have no idea where it is.
I can tell you. It's flourishing, it's got new growth,
Oh, that's wonderful.
so it seems like it's doing all right. I was wondering about it's probably way too late. Do you think it's got any potential of making it to the Flag Day Parade?
I have no
Probably not.
idea. I won't,
Yeah, listen, that's enough of this.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no more tree stuff.
Mhm.
Oh, no, this is a safe, no, this is very significant, because that's a very, it's one of the issues, it's almost an insult that tree was displaced. There's a lot of communities where that would not happen.
Well, there's a lot of that.
The vandalism, we were discussing the vandalism at the park last month.
That's it. What are you gonna do? I mean,
Well, somehow it gets tolerated.
Roni and Duan,
oh, I don't know where it is.
okay, anyone online for DPW? Okay, well, that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Third.
Hey,
Aye.
thank you very much.
Thank you.